Let me just look at them just to see. I think we had a pretty good attendance last. Just as a reminder, those of you who were present at the last meeting can vote on this would be myself, Michael Aronson, Bob Falker, Eric Talbot, who's absent, Carla, and Phil. So from that group, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from last month?
Bill Murray, motion to approve the minutes.
Bobby Falker, I second.
And I will do a roll call.
All right. Brenda Burbeck
Was
was not there. Okay, remind me.
Do
Robert.
you want me to call the roll? Can I
Would
call?
you, do you mind? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, it's okay. Michael Aronson,
Aye.
Bobby Bank, Bob Falker.
Aye.
Jesus, talk. Been running.
Off to a great start.
A lot of things today. Try to pick up the pace here. Carla Elia,
Aye.
Phil Maria,
All right,
and Seth Roy. Aye. Okay, so this one's passed. Now we're going to move on to what is listed as item C on part 1 of the agenda, which is a amendment to a resolution that was passed previously. So if we can bring the applicant up, and I think maybe the best way, Valerie, if you could just kind of outline exactly how.
Yeah, it's a really minor, resolution change. So basically, the applicant's trying to submit, oh, I guess I didn't, I'm sorry. The applicant's is planning to submit a building permit, and they're still waiting on Department of Health approvals from Westchester County. And so currently, in order for the current resolution specifically says before a building permit can be issued, that the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits and approvals that might be required from all other regulatory agencies. And so what we'd like to do is to allow them to move forward with construction, but then to put in an exception for Westchester County Department of Health and require that must be obtained prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. So basically that particular section would then say the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits and approvals that might be required from all our regulatory agencies, except any applicable approvals from the Westchester County Department of Health. Said approvals must be obtained prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
So in other words, no change to anything that we reviewed, voted on. It's just a matter of the process and,
Right.
and how those approvals unfold as the project goes to permit and CO.
Yes.
So, any board comments on that proposal?
No.
Okay, I think we have enough there to have a motion to approve the amended language. And I just want to be clear, procedurally, we're not required to go to a public hearing. This is a minor, just because it was just described, this was really just kind of a procedural change.
That's correct.
Okay, so we have a motion from the board to approve the
Yeah, Bobby Falker making a motion to approve a resolution amendment.
Michael Aronson, second.
we'll do a roll call.
Brenda Burbeck.
Aye.
Robert Falker.
Aye.
Michael Aronson.
Aye.
Phil Maria.
all right.
Carla Elliott. Isabel Wynn. And Chair Roy.
Aye. Great, thank you.
And Liz?
That's our applicant. Anthony.
How are you? If you can see me, thank you. I appreciate it very much. I'm in Florida on my first business trip, hopefully to make some connections down here in Florida. And I appreciate everything you guys have done for me.
Very good. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
All right, good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Yep.
Right.
Alrighty, so we will move on now to new business. So the first item of new business on the agenda is it's a PAR 2023. This is for 3 Bellevue Avenue. And this is it's a garage, accessory garage structure that we're reviewing. So if we can pull up the drawings and have the applicant come on up and you can just kind of walk us through the project and you can introduce yourself.
I'm Dominic from Site Design Consultants, representing Mr. Baresi for 3 Bellevue. So we were here about 2 months ago for ZBA, which all the variances were approved, and now we refer to you guys.
Okay. Maybe so we'll get the drawings put up on the screen and you can just kind of walk us through what you're proposing.
So there's some renovation to the front of the house. Mostly cosmetic, and then there's some railings that are just to bring them up to code. the main thing is the garage, which is, I believe you have pictures. But the garage is basically, it's acting as also as a retaining wall. Is deteriorated, so that's gonna get
Oh,
knocked down, and they're gonna, propose a new garage. And right now there's stairs it's kind of stairs on the left side that are gonna be moved to the right side.
that's a good stairs.
And then,
Is the footprint staying the same of what's there?
the footprint is staying the same.
Of the garage breaks, because the stairs move to the other side.
Yes.
It'll feel a little different. And I think there are definitely some elevations in the set that we can maybe put up there to show
Yeah,
the
so,
stucco material.
so there's some elevation with some shading, so it's just gonna be stucco with a tan colored stucco on the house and also on the garage. I think that on the other elevations, it shows the garage. Yeah, so that's the garage, and those are the stairs.
So all of the trim is white, and there's that beige, that stucco is the beige color
Exactly.
that matches. Is
Yeah.
there other stucco on the site right now? That'll all be new, I guess not.
It's basically the garage and then
Yeah.
just dressing up the front of the house.
Okay. And so that porch, you're adding a stucco band at the base of it, but there's no other changes. You're not actually making any, you're not building anything up there, right? You're just
No.
renovating that porch.
There's gonna be a deck on top of the garage. I guess there was one existing prior.
It was a concrete, deck.
Okay.
So yeah, we had like a deck on there. I don't remember if we were showing it to be concrete or if it was gonna be like a floating, like Trex deck. I'm not
And what's
sure.
the material of the railing? Is that gonna be like white PVC? Is it gonna be wood? What are you doing there?
It's probably gonna be, white PVC.
Okay.
And the stairs are concrete.
Yes,
The drawing shows like a stucco riser, so you'll just render the risers the
yes.
same way that the.
Yep.
Then there's no separate material on the treads, that'll just be the same stucco, or is there
They're probably gonna be like bluestone or some type of, stone.
that's specified anywhere on here? No.
Yeah, so actually, I'm here in place of Gene Vetrano, he couldn't make it tonight, so
Sure.
he's more familiar with the project. But does it not say anything
That's
about
all we got. I don't know.
the treads?
I mean, it
It
falls
says,
out
says
for
materials in the name, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
it's-
I it's set here, but it's small.
I mean, my only other question on this is just trying to understand it is, where the stairs are right now. Can you just, on the, there's on the Croton
Where-
Avenue side of the hill.
Where is it on that?
Well, no, I mean, I understand where it is in plan, but what are you, is that just gonna be a plain, just a stucco wall there, that goes down to grade? And I guess there's,
On the other, where the stairs were, you mean?
where the stairs were,
Existing stairs.
yeah.
Yes, that's just gonna get graded down, and yeah, basically. Yeah, I think that's what I don't know if it says it on there, but I believe that's what, yeah, because there's
There's a fence.
because the grade drops off. Well, almost to the base of the garage level. So it's like a lot of that's gonna be exposed up.
Right. It'll just be like a triangular
Right.
portion of that wall. Down. Okay. Board members, questions?
I mean, this at the beginning, is this structure going to be demolished? and
Yes.
rebuilt?
This is the rear of the property, this doesn't.
No, this is the-
Bellevue Avenue.
Okay, so I'm confused because I was just looking at, so is this on the corner of Croton Avenue and,
It's a couple houses.
oh, it's a couple.
I mean,
So what is the garage gonna be done now? And you said stucco front, but
It-
it looked like it was pretty sturdy you said it was sturdy as a retaining wall. So is
yeah,
this
well, it's
structurally designed to
masonry.
continue to serve as a,
Yeah, it's gonna be,
retaining
it's
wall?
gonna be poured concrete. It's gonna be better than what was there, and it's gonna look a lot better.
Percentage. Slab, yeah, I mean,
and then the side where the stairs are, is that gonna be landscaped or is that
Yeah,
just gonna be
We're just gonna taper that down, and then it's gonna be landscape.
vegetated landscaping?
Yeah, some,
Okay.
yeah, it's gonna be,
Drawing trees in here. That's
Yeah.
Some shrubbery.
I don't know how much room is there.
You just don't wanna have bare soil
Yeah, it's pretty.
on a
Yeah, I'm
slope
not sure
like
where the
that.
property line is.
I think you should show it on one of your site plans there.
Yeah, the property line is pretty close
Pretty
to
tight,
it,
yeah.
so it's not like you could plant the tree there, just,
No, you don't want to treat that close to your garage anyway.
right.
Other questions?
We had a better detail of the material we use, yeah.
Right, so I mean, I think the stucco is clear, the
Yeah,
beige
stucco's
stucco,
clear.
I think that the only, and the white trim, I think is also very clear, I think that the only thing that was
Stair treads.
right, which they were called out as treads without the material. I mean, when we put a condition in the approval, I mean, it's calling out the tread, that there would be a masonry, masonry tread, bluestone, I mean, this bluestone was noted, bluestone or similar.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be because you have to have for each tread, it can't just end at the riser. It has to have an overhang.
Every nose.
So, yeah, it's gotta have a nosing on it, so you can't just do it out of stucco. And you're not gonna do wood on top of masonry. So it's gonna be some type of masonry, either bluestone or some type of, like cast material. Yeah, like cast material, something like.
So do you want me to just keep it that the condition the masonry tread on the stairs be installed and just leave it like that? Or do you want a masonry tread with bluestone or?
Yeah, so. I'll let the board, answer that question as well. I mean, I think any kind of, the masonry,
You can either say like bluestone or similar, masonry tread. Similar,
Yeah,
so it gives you a lot of optionality,
Yeah.
as long as you know what we're kind of looking for there.
yeah, I'm, we were trying to get, we went through a lot trying to figure out exactly what like the building department was expecting, and so, if we're willing to do whatever. To get this forward, so.
I think bluestone or similar is clear enough. And
Okay.
it gives the idea. There are no other board questions. Could we have a motion to open a public hearing?
Hallelujah, motion to open for public hearing?
Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? Objections are in a public hearing. Is there anybody here in the room to speak to this application? I don't see anybody here to speak to this application. Is there anybody on Zoom? You can use the hand raise function. And I don't see anybody doing that. I have a motion to close the public hearing.
Michael Aronson, motion to close the public hearing.
Bobby Bowker, a second.
Okay, any other last questions? I mean, I know that there was a comment made by the applicant that there was zoning, variances that were already, previously approved, so, It sounds like administratively, we're good, there's no other.
Yes, nothing else.
All right, and with that, can we have a motion from the board to approve the application with the conditions that were noted?
Bobby Bowker making a motion to approve with condition that bluestone and like material be used in stair tread.
Cornelia second the motion.
And a roll call.
Brenda Burback,
Aye.
Robert Boucher,
Aye.
Michael Aaronson. Aye. Bill Maria,
Aye.
Marla Elia.
Aye.
Isabel Lynn. Aye. And Heather Roy.
Aye, very good. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, would you give us your name again? We didn't get the record.
Dominic Rina, Riina.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we're on to the next item, which is 8189 South Highland Avenue. This is also a new business, but it is a request for a second request for an extension for final subdivision, tree removal, all related to the construction of 5 townhouse style dwellings. So we're going to go in and you can let us know where you guys stand.
Thank you very much. So for the record, my name is Daniel Patrick from Cutting Fader on behalf of the applicant. I've been here a number of times over the past few years, so it's nice to see you folks, and I think there's some new faces there. The applicant was hoping to join. I don't see him up on the screen. Just for a brief update, since we were last here back in October or September it was, the prior owner actually sold the property. They sold the entire property. They kind of fed up with the property ownership things, and they weren't developers in the first place, so they got the approvals. When it came to actually construct the building, they didn't really have the funding for it, the wherewithal for it, so they sold it to our new client, who is 81 South Highland Avenue LLC. It's the Leverage Companies. They're much more of an established development and property management company, so they are expected to have the financing to actually put a shovel in the ground and build the building. So just by way of background, we're proposing to subdivide the property. It's an existing 4.8 acre lot. We're proposing to subdivide off into 2 lots. One is 3.7 acres. It's where the existing 5 building 79 unit development exists. On the undeveloped portion that will be subdivided off, it's about 1.12 acres. We're proposing to construct 5 townhouse units. We're here asking for an extension of the subdivision approvals. The last condition of the subdivision approval that we are trying to address right now is to obtain the performance bond, because we need to issue a performance bond for some of the work before we can get the plat signed, before the plat can be recorded with the county. So the new owner, he's submitted all the paperwork to the surety company, who is most likely going to be issuing the bond. We're really hoping to have the bond within the next month or so we can provide it to the village and then get the signatures on the plan. And give me one less reason to come back and visit you guys and present this application, even though we'll likely be coming back for an extension of the site plan in later months. But as far as the subdivision goes, we're really hoping that this is the last time we need to extend it. I think we will get the bond in the next month or so. And at that point, we'll provide it to the village and do what we need to do to get the signature on the plan. So we're asking for a little bit more time. The village allows for 90-day extensions. They allow for 2 extensions. This would be our second of these approvals. So we are requesting those approvals. And as far as the tree removal permit extension goes, there's no changes to the tree removal plan. There's no changes to the site plan. It's still the same plan that was approved before. But again, there's only 120 days more allowed for those approvals. So we've been requesting extensions for those as well in association with the subdivision. So
Nothing about the project has changed.
nothing has changed aside from ownership and hopefully the ability to build it.
So we just, I guess Valerie, in terms of our evaluation of this second group, I just want to make sure we're really clear. So this is the last go around, if there's a request for further extensions, they'd have to go back to another public hearing. Is that the?
Well, they would have to basically reapply for a new final subdivision.
And I guess, and this building permit would be the piece that would stop that clock once they pull the vote.
Yes, once they pull the building permit, that would stop the clock.
So a
Well,
building permit
excuse me, once they submit a final,
Correct. Once we get the
right,
signature on the
get the
plan.
signatures on the
Right.
plan, and then they actually, file it with the county. That would stop this clock for the subdivision, for the site plan, once they submit the building.
Gotcha. Okay. and again, I'll just ask a quick process question. This is an extension. This is a public hearing required for the extension.
No.
Board questions?
No, I have no issues granting the extension. I know what they have to do to get the bond. They're waiting on that. So I guess. You're asking for the final 90-day extension.
Yes, I mean, I hope we don't have to come back for reapproval. We've done that once already, and it's more paperwork for me, and honestly, I think this applicant is most likely going to get an issue, but it's just, there's a lot of people associated with the LLC, and there's a lot of background checks that the surety has to do with each individual, so it's not as simple as just asking them for a lot of cash, unfortunately, but we're almost there.
When does the site plan approval expire?
April or May,
April.
yeah. Which we still have to prepare, building permit plans for all that stuff. It's just, so we will be back, just hopefully not for.
And the tree removal permit, that's just coincidental in terms of the timeframes. If that's up at the same time, it's not, there's no relation between that.
That's correct. And that's for a year. So we'll probably, most likely, we'll create like 2 separate resolutions, just because the timings are gonna be different on the two.
Any other questions? I think this is pretty straightforward. Okay. So I guess hearing all of that, can we have a motion to approve the final 9, I guess that will. Can we do one vote for 2 resolutions?
I think,
Or are we, I think we actually talked about maybe separating them out. That was.
Yeah, do 2
Okay.
resolutions.
So let's start with the 90-day, the final 90-day subdivision approval. We have a motion.
Michael Aronson, making the motion for the 90-day extension for final subdivision.
Maria, second.
And a roll call.
Brenda Burback. Aye. Robert Bowker.
Aye.
Michael Aronson.
Aye.
Bill Maria.
Aye.
Carla Elliott. Aye. Isabel Lynn. Aye. Chair Roy.
Aye. All right, and a motion for the 1-year tree removal permit extension.
Bobby Valker making a motion to extend the tree permit by 1 year.
Carla Dia second the motion.
And roll call.
Brenda Burback. Aye. Robert Bowker.
Aye.
Michael Aronson.
Aye.
Bill Maria.
Aye.
Carla Elliott. Aye. Isabel Lynn. Aye. Chair Roy.
Very good. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're
All right. Sounds good. Okay, next up on the agenda, we have, continuing business. This is planning board 15/2023, 10 Marble Place. It is actually another subdivision, request. So, if you would be here, you can come up and, I guess actually, before you kind of give us an update, I guess we don't have anyone from Tony's team here tonight.
Tony
Where's Tony
should,
here?
No, he's not on.
oh, he's not, okay.
Okay. I guess, so, well, Valerie, can you kind of just give us, because I know that you had a memo on this, and there's some kind of open items that we discussed last time that we should really use as the focus of tonight's conversation?
Sure. So, I think in general, at last meeting, there was a number of comments both from Tony and myself, concerning the actual, submission, so that there needs to be an official subdivision plat that needs to be, filed along with, confirming the, zoning variances. The zoning variances, being proposed now are different from the original approvals, and we still have a few questions concerning the variances. But more importantly, I think the real issue deals with the easements that are needed as part of the subdivision plat, as well as the very specific locations in terms of where the easements are, and then also the property line where there is currently vegetation within the property line, and whether that ultimately will need like some sort of village board approval as part of the overall approvals of this particular application. So I think in terms of where we are with this application ultimately will need to be referred to the zoning board, but I don't think it's been fully vetted in terms of the variances that are needed, as well as the information or the documentation that needs to be submitted in order for it to be able to be moved over to the zoning board. That being said, you would still need recommendation from this board to the zoning board, right? So if there are still concerns with the overall site plan itself, or I mean, the subdivision or the proposed subdivision, that would need to be vetted here first before any sort of referral.
Right, so, I mean, can you maybe go into some of these specific variant
Sure.
issues? Because I think that's really where this,
So I think, why don't we go to the actual plan itself? Um, yeah, no, maybe go back up. To Then the first page, yeah.
yeah.
And then just scroll in there. Zoom in, okay, so I think really the issues that we've been raising really deals with where the property line is being proposed in terms of the proposed subdivision. And there are proposed potential easement areas. And those easement areas need to be better defined. Not only do they need to be defined on the map itself, but also that the easement descriptions need to be provided, as well as what the easements are actually for. We have, I mean, and especially this needs to have an actual subdivision plat, so. I mean, I know, JB, I know you're well aware, and that's really the main key that's missing right now, because right now we have a site plan, and then you have some additional easements on like property tax maps, but not on an actual subdivision plat. And once all that information is provided on the subdivision plat, then Linda or Taryn can review it in terms of the easements, and we'll be able to review it in terms of the final variances that are necessary, as well as any other outstanding utility issues from Tony's perspective.
And I know one of the questions, it's related to the easements, is just where, I guess, where the street ends.
Right, the
and-
property lines,
Right.
right, so there's Marble Place, but there is a little bit of, it looks like the property lines back here, and that needs to be really finalized, because you do have some structures that look like they're in the village right of way, and it's not really clear if it's part of this property or not. I think your position is, the applicant's position is that it's not part of the property, but we just need like final determination on that, and then that also then affects the frontage onto Marble
Right.
Place.
So
Where-
what's, going back to that, the client are working on getting a plot plan, they're with a surveyor, and they have an attorney working on the easement. But we're trying to see if we move this further along, and we can start the process with the city. Now, and I don't know, is there another memo that we submitted for,
Another memo from or for who?
11824? Oh, no, that's not. We submitted another memo that had a,
Oh, it's in,
that show the tax, because it appears when you
That's
look at the
this,
tax
right?
map of,
oh no, this is.
no,
From October.
no, it was a one-page memo with the, it appears when you look at the tax map and, that Marble Place, it goes into what is now part of the cemetery. So we feel that it is enough frontage because there is no end to Marble Place.
So can we go back to the site plan? I mean,
Like,
like,
even there you can
Yeah.
see it.
but. We can look at the map, because I think that this is like an important question to answer, but I think that
Yeah.
our. My concern looking at all of this right now is understanding that, maybe Marble Place goes into the cemetery, maybe, there's some maps that suggest that it might, we don't have a survey, we don't have anything. We don't, a plat that says for sure, because there are ways around it, and it doesn't mean, that you can't subdivide the property, but it maybe means that where the line between, where you're dividing the properties needs to be adjusted. That there may be other moves that you need to make, which may impact other variances that you might need to apply for to make this work. And I feel like we're missing like a critical piece of information. So, Marble Avenue, Marble Place, sorry, if you're in Pleasantville. They had, that continues, there's a distinction between there and then the driveway to the cemetery. And, I don't know that we can rely on a tax map that's, scaled at the level of the entire village to determine that.
No, I wasn't, like, I
Yeah.
wasn't when you look at the tax map and, sorry, the numbers not that, when you look at the tax map, it does show that,
Because that circular map has some of this
Yeah.
information there, right? In the, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's
that's-
the
that's
kind of the zoomed out version of this.
right, so Marble Place, when you look at the tax map, it is continuous, so it does not stop there, it's called Marble Place Extension, or, so there is but if you don't have the tax map is not there. Because that's what I was basing, not on a survey, because the survey will not say if there's, road or not, so.
I mean,
Yeah. It-
we kind of, yeah, we can look at that map too. I just don't understand, I feel like none of this gives us that clarity. It's kind of, it's an important distinction, right? Is that, are you fronting on a driveway or are you fronting on a street? And my understanding is, if you look at the width of the streets, right, you go from Marble to America Circle. And, if
Just
the,
to clarify for, if there is a paper street, if it's a street on the tax map, but still a paper street, it's still fronted, right?
Well, no, because then that requires an additional variance, right? There's variances from actually because the requirement of 270-27D says any other requirements notwithstanding, no lot width shall be less than 35 feet measured along the street line, right? So, and the street line refers to an actual dedicated street. So if it's not, then there is village law that requires frontage on the,
Okay,
so then you're asking for a variance from like actually village law, I believe.
Yes.
or is there a way to adjust the lines to give you some sort of a frontage?
Right.
Between the two properties, potential two properties.
so that was basically, I mean, if we can not be able to establish that we need to have frontage, variance or not, then, yeah.
Right, we need that information, and once we have that, then we know for sure what variances you would go to the zoning board. Other kind of board comments or questions on this?
I want to reserve until we get the subdivision part, reality.
Right, it's subdivision review, so it helps to have the plan. Okay, can we just procedurally, just have a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion to open the public hearing.
Isabel Lynn, second the motion.
Any objections? No objections, we're in a public hearing. There is nobody in the room. There's nobody in the attendees list other than our.
There's one person.
There is one
but-
person, I'm
yeah.
sorry. I actually thought that was somebody else, but yes, if you'd like to speak, you use the hand raise function. And I don't see anybody doing that, so can I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
Bobby Balker making a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Michael Aronson, second.
Objections? No objections. The public hearing is adjourned. And I think between the memos you have from Valerie and Tony, you guys know what we need.
We don't understand what the property.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, let's kind of get that, and then we can kind of, move this forward. I know we saw this a few years ago. It'd be good to kind of get it resolved. It makes sense what you're doing, I think. But we have to, yeah. All right. I can have a motion to adjourn this agenda item.
Michael Aronson, sorry. Go ahead.
Isabel Lynn, motion to, adjourn this agenda item.
Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? No objections. Adjourned. All right, next, David.
So they can take one again.
All right, so we're now gonna go back to the top of the agenda. All right, so we are now gonna talk about, all right, so the village board has put together a list of proposed zoning text amendments. Valerie, are you gonna be able to just kind of walk us through kind of the nature of these changes? And a lot of mine are just kind of administrative language that's kind of updating it to clarify existing rules, right?
That's correct. So what I can do is I'll just give you a whole, just an overview, and if there's anything in particular that we want to dive in a little deeper, we can. I know the board has all received, copies of the proposed zoning changes. But basically what we are proposing, a couple things.
I'm sorry, and just the outcome
yeah.
of this meeting is a letter
Yes,
of
thank
referral
you.
back to the Board of Trustees.
That's correct. So let's start with just in general definitions. So we took a look at all the definitions, specifically ones updating ones corresponding.
So we can get this up on the Zoom, so while we're talking. there's
I
something that-
will.
Well, I
hunt
think-
For it, it's not.
It's not, no, because I told, it's not, because I think it was provided to the board
Got it,
as,
understood.
just copies. I mean, there's like 20 different Word documents, so I don't know if.
No, that's fine, that's
Yeah.
fine. I just didn't want.
I was gonna look and see if it was the
visual that
board
after-
trustees agenda in the meanwhile, but.
Okay. Sorry, Valerie,
Okay.
I won't interrupt you.
There's a Dropbox link in the email. I don't know if you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they were like.
They were all in the Dropbox that you received, that you had a question on, and you said, how come this is back from August? You sent an email on that.
Okay.
It was a couple weeks, it
Oh,
was January.
I
9th.
wasn't
Yeah.
on this.
It was not on.
No.
the agenda.
Oh,
No.
okay, that's why I'm.
Right, so we sent everybody, as soon as the referral came in, we sent everybody a Dropbox link. So basically, the board's looking to update, definitions, specifically dealing with definitions, and corresponding those with chapter 162, the Housing Property Maintenance and Building Code Administration. Also, we looked at coordination of definitions of cellars, basements, ground floor, stories, levels, to just kind of make it a little bit more holistic and in coordination with chapter 162 and also New York State Building Code. We also looked at removing definitions that are not used in the zoning chapter. And then also livable and habitable floor area. Specifically, we're focusing on just keeping one of the definitions. Let me just pull that up. And then the other thing with the definitions is there was a lot of use in the use group classifications. There were definitions in use groups, and it was recommended to bring those into the overall definitions. A lot of the definitions changes were ones that resulted over time in front of the planning board, and were ones that were identified by both the building inspector and also your planning board attorney, Linda Whitehead. So a number of those things were just clarified and cleared up in terms of moving one definition over in two different locations as opposed to actually creating new definitions. In terms of the habitable space versus living space, we are proposing to move. It's going to be livable area. Apologize. But that's a one that's, okay, so we're gonna require livable residential floor area, and we are removing habitable residential floor area. So between the two, the habitable used to include all spaces within the exterior walls of dwelling unit exclusive of garages, breezeways, unheated porches, etc. Livable floor area is total usable space available within the perimeter of the walls on all floors of a building, including interior corridors, stairs, elevators, passages, finished basements, etc. Unfinished basements and attics, unheated porches and breezeways, garages, and maintenance shops are excluded from living area determinations. There was a lot of confusion as to which one always applied, and so the suggestion is we're just moving to the livable floor area. The other big change in definitions deals with home occupations. This one specifically.
I have a question about
Sure.
that change. So are there places in the rules now that say livable versus habitable, and there were different rules, and they're all just gonna go to livable?
That's correct. And the biggest difference was in the multifamily districts, right? Already established districts were the livable, and then the habitable was used in the other zoning districts, and so it's all gonna go to livable.
Okay, so livable gives you
Livable includes
more,
all
right,
square
but it gives you
footage.
more flexibility, like habitable, you didn't include passages and stuff.
Right, that's correct, or bathrooms and that.
So the level that was used to be habitable will shrink because now it includes the livable area.
It does. Right,
I don't like that.
okay.
Wait.
So if that is something that the board wants to, raise, I can always bring that back to the village board. I mean, I think in terms of your minimum square footages, I can pull that up.
Yeah, if you could have an example of what the changes would be for minimum square footages.
Well, the change wouldn't be any different in terms of what's there in the village, in the,
But so right
But
now,
other
it says
spaces
it has
would
to be
contribute.
hundred and twenty habitable. It'll be hundred and twenty livable, which
Right.
means
right,
that'll
Diminishes.
include passages
Right.
and hallways. So you're actually letting people
Diminishing
have
the,
much smaller.
yes,
spaces
you can
to
have
live in,
smaller spaces.
Which
That's
I
correct.
don't think is that great. Because then you're gonna have people building really, really small. Like they could. Yeah, small
So-
bedrooms, exactly.
In like, for example, in your village center or your NC1, NC2, this is pretty much, copied throughout a number of the zoning districts when there is actually minimum. But the minimum habitable floor area, which would then be minimum, livable floor area for each dwelling unit shall be 450 square feet for an efficiency or studio unit, 600 square feet for one bedroom unit, and 750 square feet for a two bedroom unit, and 250 additional square feet for each additional bedroom.
That's currently what it is.
Yes,
But that's habitable area.
that's habitable, so that wouldn't include the bathrooms.
Or closets or stuff like
Right.
that. Now it's included, now it'll just be the entire floor plate.
That's correct.
Essentially.
That's correct.
But they're keeping the same square footage,
That's really small.
requirement?
That's correct.
so it would help me to
But it would
understand.
really
the
shrink the habitable
It would
area down.
shrink the area, yes, it would shrink.
Why,
it allow-
why has this been a problem? I mean, what's the rationale for making this change?
Because I think in times that people were submitting stuff for, we're submitting stuff for livable when it was really supposed to be habitable, and there was, issues that were taking place in terms of like building permit processing and reviews. And, Joe, thank you.
Well, what I can add to that is what happens is to make the habitable square footage space, a lot of the designers just eliminate closets and things that don't count. So you're creating, space that people when in apartments need those additional spaces and they eliminate them just to be able to meet the habitable square footage. And actually you have a bigger apartment per se in the downtown than you would in a residential district, because in the residential districts, you only have to have 800 square feet of livable. And the idea is if you live in the downtown area, you don't really need probably as much of a space that you would if you were living somewhere in a residential area. It actually doesn't make sense that you have apartments larger on Main Street than you would say on Bellevue.
Yeah, I was looking at it that way initially as well, which is so far, like, if you have, a fixed habitable area, you could have really big hallway, it's like you kind of like create extra space when you're building it with big hallways and closets that then in the future could be converted, people could use in other ways. So you could kind of have wasted, uncounted space.
Yeah, because it doesn't include habitable space, so you'd have to eliminate the bathrooms, hallways, closets, foyers. To make, say, a 600 square foot apartment, you probably really have about 800 square feet.
Livable space would be 400. Right, and that would include the bathrooms.
Everything, circulation,
Right.
if it's.
Yeah, bathrooms usually 8x6, right?
Closets.
48 square feet of closets.
But otherwise, if you have habitable is 400,
Doesn't include the bathroom.
it doesn't include
Closets.
the bathroom. or the closets.
Right.
Doesn't that shrink it down? Because you still have to put a bathroom in there.
No, in that context, it does. I'm saying, but there's the other side of it where you can literally, if you're just counting, if you're counting habitable as a maximum and you can, you have 800 square feet of habitable and then you have, another, 1,000 square feet of circulation space and accessory spaces.
It's now the hallways.
There's always
And
overhead
now the bathrooms.
that
out
you need
here
to
and the hallways
include,
out here.
otherwise how do you get around the
Shrink the
apartment?
livable space.
But I think that this question, though, that we're talking about here has less to do with the definition. And I think having a consistent usage of definition in the code is important,
Yes.
but then it might require reevaluation of what those limits are. So if you had
Yes.
a 450 square foot minimum habitable, and now you're changing that to livable,
500.
right, but there might be, so I think that might be the flip side of that.
Yes.
And because I like the consistency of definitions. I like, I
Yes.
think,
But I,
That's room for error then.
right,
but we need to figure out how it actually affects these things.
Right.
Okay, so your recommendation would be, for the board to look at the minimum square footages in existing zoning that were once habitable floor area. And to see if it needs to be increased.
That's just
or
the
livable,
livable,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
exactly.
We have an 8x8 bathroom and a 3x4 closet.
Right, I think you could easily kind of
Hallway.
look at what the, per bedroom, what that increase might be.
Yeah.
If that was something the village board was comfortable with.
Okay, great. Anything else on that before I go on to the other major change in the definitions? Or, okay, so the other larger change in the definitions were home occupations. So we specifically added home occupation major and home occupation minor. Home occupation major is any non-residential use conducted wholly or partly in a dwelling unit or accessory structure thereto by the same owner, which is clearly incidental to the use of the dwelling for living purposes and does not change the residential character of the dwelling unit or vicinity or any exterior evidence of such secondary use. Home occupation minor is any non-residential use that is incidental and clearly subordinate to an existing residential use conducted within a dwelling unit or in an existing accessory structure by the owner of the same, which does not change the residential character of the dwelling unit or vicinity, and where no non-resident employees, customers, or clients enter the premise. This includes remote working situations. So what we wanted to do is make sure that we had something that clearly, now that remote working, that is acceptable, and that would fall under your minor. And so basically you could have like your own home office, conduct business out of your home, but it wouldn't be something where you would have additional employees or clients.
So no third parties at all, just the owner of the home.
That's
or the
correct.
resident home.
That's correct. In home occupation major, it would allow for such occupations that's incidental to residential uses of the premise and is carried on the main building and occupies no more than 25% of the floor area of the dwelling unit, or no more than 400 square feet in an accessory building, not more than 2 non-resident and residents are employed, not more than 2 clients or customers can be on the premise at any time, and the hours of operation may take place between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. and no outdoor storage in association with business is permitted.
Is this limited to single family residence? Is this, if you have a 20-unit multifamily, can your tenants do that as well?
So this home occupation would be specifically fallen under accessory buildings and uses.
Okay.
And that would be anything that used to have like home occupations that were automatically permitted. So the use, we're not proposing the uses to change under but what we did was we redefined them.
Okay.
So before home occupations, the prior definition was just home occupation activity that's carried on for commercial or philanthropic purposes on the same lot where the operator of the home occupation resides and is clearly secondary to that dwelling unit, and then had beauty parlors, barber shops, medical and dental practices, hairdressing and manicuring establishments shall not be deemed home occupations. That's what used to exist. And then we also had home-based business, which was an accessory use of a dwelling for commercial purposes that is more intensive than home occupations. Examples included physicians, doctors, dentists, lawyers, architects. So that was the prior one. And so what we did is we specifically identified home occupations major, home occupations minor. So more or less your home-based business turned into home occupations major. And then it provides a little bit more flexible. It's not defined as the types of uses, especially now that we're dealing with like remote work, right? So there's all different types of businesses that are being operated out of individual homes. And so it really is based on the intensity of how many employees and clients.
So what is the difference in like, what is the significance of having major and minor?
This provided more flexibility in terms of the types of businesses, where before it was very defined that they want to
Right,
license,
but what,
right?
like what, how does that impact the homeowner to be a major versus a minor?
A major, you would have potentially non-resident employees or
Right, but what
clients
if- I
coming.
understand that, but what is the?
Nothing, it's just an accessory use, so you're still
So do you mean like is the
providing,
property tax
Right.
differently?
Yeah,
Is that
like
what you're
why do you
asking?
need
Like, what are the
different
implications of
definitions?
having?
Would you need a site plan
Yeah,
approval?
why
for
do you
a-
need to have a major and a minor? Why can't it all be, why do you have to have two? If there's no approvals or anything required to either have a major or
so a
minor?
major is a conditional, requires a conditional use permit in the residential districts.
Okay,
And a minor is just an automatic permitted accessory use.
okay, so you need a conditional use
In
permit
residential districts.
Right,
to be a masseuse in your own home.
yes, theoretically.
Okay,
But this now kind of automatically takes a large slice of uses that are commonplace today, where you're, running a small business out of your house or working from home 3 days a week.
okay,
And you're no longer required to get a conditional use variance for that because it's defined here as minor.
okay, and you can have like one client at a time under minor.
So right
But
now
no-
we
but
have,
no
Does it
employees.
no offsite?
No
Maybe.
employees.
right, no employees and not more than
One,
I think it's like 2 clients for
clients.
major. For
okay.
minor
minor
is,
is just residential.
yeah, minor is just,
Just the property.
Just the
yeah,
property.
Just the property.
more or less the property.
So what kind of business do we foresee operating in just a minor, that,
Right.
just a work from home business?
More or less, yes,
Or a fully commercial bakery, like what if someone wants to bake
you could,
1,000 muffins a day out of their apartment, is that allowed?
Unless nobody's helping
right,
and nobody's coming in to buy it, it would be a minor use, is that correct?
that's correct.
But if you've got a shipping company or a trucking company coming in to pick up those
1,000 muffins.
1,000 muffins, that's a lot of muffins. I don't know if you can fit that in the hatchback.
Right,
Right, but they don't have to come into the house. They can be on the street. They don't ever have to be on the property to pick up those
That would be
muffins.
tricky.
You bring the muffins out to the truck.
But, no, but in theory, I think, it's like, I think it's an important question, like, who is this really ever, like, impacting? I mean, I can think of so many businesses that are run out of homes that I know have never been.
so I
approved.
mean, the other issue is you could suggest that they just all both be permitted and then you just have the 2 different levels. I mean, there was always 2 different levels and they were both permitted. I think the concern was from the village board that the major could potentially have like some implications in terms of parking or something like that. Especially now, I think in the past, because businesses at this point in time, it's no longer in your traditional offices, right? So before, yes, there were some home-based businesses, but not like the extent that there are now. And so I think that was the concern of changing those to conditional use. That being said, I think, the board's open to any recommendations.
First of all, I like it, I feel like those uses should be conditional, and I think that they should be looked at, and there's a lot of different ways that those can impact neighbors and communities in ways that need to be vetted and understood. I'm almost concerned that that giving the minor distinction more, because I don't think that minor distinction ever comes up, like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just, calling my clients from my house, I didn't realize I needed a, permit for this. I don't like that never comes to the light of day. I'm worried that could be used as a loophole for somebody who is doing something more substantial to try to get out of
I
any.
did have this anecdotal, but I had a tenant, she had an empanada business, she was running out of one of our apartments, and she was selling empanadas, thousands of empanadas a week. And is that allowed? That would be a minor then, right?
But she was making the empanadas.
making the
and selling
empanadas.
them and taking them out of her.
But then she had third-party customers come in, yeah.
Was
that-
that-
So that would be
that
then
would
the
be a
major.
No, but I thought that even for the minor, you could have up to, no clients, no.
No clients,
No
right.
clients, okay.
Right,
No.
but if she made those empanadas and then brought them to,
No, somewhere else would be, that would be a
that
minor.
would be a minor use.
But the fact she's bringing people there, that's a major.
But it's
Okay.
still a bakery.
I just want to go back to
Yeah.
Seth's comment, just to clarify, under the minor use, you would need a permit or not?
The minor you would
It's
not.
permissible.
Right.
Permitted, that's allowed use.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I'm just trying to see scenarios. that
Also,
would-
Valerie, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have the definitions right in front of me, but regardless, either home occupation has to be customary incidental to the primary residential use.
Yep.
So if you're running
Yeah.
a full-scale commercial bakery, arguably that's no longer incidental to the residential use, where that would implicate the larger zoning and planning
Right.
process.
Right, if you can do it in your traditional like
Yeah,
kitchen,
Yeah.
you know.
Which people do.
We do, just takes,
Yeah.
get another oven or something.
I mean, that probably wasn't legal anyway, because there was no health department permit.
Right.
all that. But it was not legal. Was I without a place? It's not illegal to sell the food without a health department, without a permit, so.
But in all reality, though, you do see people that like bake cakes, they're home bakers, right?
Yeah.
And they do sell cakes, so.
But they have to have a health department permit to do,
Well,
to
what
legally
about they
sell.
do? What else they do?
You have to have a health department permit to legally sell food.
Well,
What if it's a bake sale? I'm looking for my son's
yeah.
fifth grade class bake sale. But that is for charity, that is not for profit.
I think we're getting a little far off the track.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I understand, thank you.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask every definition because they're not in front of me.
So no, but those were really the only two major definitions that we changed that really had any sort of implications on anything. Everything else is just sort of tweaking the definitions or.
I think it makes
I'm
sense,
looking
making
at
a
that.
conditional use for a major definitely makes it case by case.
Yeah.
conditional. That's,
Right,
I'm
and,
okay with that.
and the minor, does give. It gives, a potential, a reason for somebody who's legitimately just trying to get work done and.
As a homeowner, you have abundant rights, you should be able to do certain things in your home,
Right,
that's fine.
right.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay,
So now, the next, a couple, number of ones, we also made, so let's talk about subdivisions, a couple things, we made lot mergers and lot line changes, we made them to be allowed to be administrative under the subdivision chapter, and also for the subdivisions, we specifically, there was expiration in terms of this to, like, you get two extensions and then it automatically expires. The current subdivision regulations for New York State Village Law allows boards to continuously provide the extensions and doesn't necessarily say after two extensions, it needs to expire, or actually you have to submit for new subdivision approval. So that is something that is changing to reflect New York State Village Law. Site plan as well, we also revised that so that there would be additional extensions that would be allowed for site plan approval. Again, because of the current conditions current situations that we're seeing, that just different approvals from different agencies are taking longer, so therefore the approval process in terms of submitting for a building permit takes longer too.
can you just speak, because you noted something about lot mergers being administrative,
Yes,
just.
yeah, so
She just really glazed over.
so all we did was basically, I mean, it's very simple. The subdivision definition now specifically just says excluding lot mergers, which may be undertaken administratively.
So that would be building department.
Yes, that's correct.
That would really only happen if the same property owner owns both lots.
Yeah.
Right.
But if there were zoning variances that resulted, all of those would still be in play.
That's correct. Couple other things that we did, there were a couple other minor, let me just pull this up, in non-conforming uses, oh no, that we didn't change that.
Sorry, I'm gonna go back
Sure.
real quick on the mergers. That can be done administratively. Is there a scenario where if the building department doesn't feel comfortable administratively approving that would have to then go to the board?
I
the planning
think,
board?
and I'm gonna turn this over to Taryn, but I think for the most part, you can just automatically go to the assessor.
Yeah, if you want to assessor and do it.
Okay,
So you don't even need like building
So it's not, it's just
Permits.
not, it's just taking something off that doesn't need to be there.
That's correct.
Sorry.
With the site plan approval, we're specifically adding in the planning board may provide additional extensions in one-year increments if, in its opinion, such extension is warranted due to particular circumstances which prevents a building permit from being issued, such as a delay in issuance of permits or approvals from outside agencies.
Plenty of those.
Mhm.
DOT.
The changes, there were a couple things for tables, but most of them were just, we did not change any of the minimum requirements, but what we did was we consolidated tables, so you will see ultimately new tables in the zoning to hopefully make it a little bit easier to access the information. The other thing we did with enforcement, we are removing the enforcement provisions from the zoning code because they will now be under the chapter 162 for buildings. And there was like duplicative zoning enforcement provisions, and so that's being amended and changed.
I'm sorry, could you explain that a little bit more?
Sure, so there is chapter 160.
162, so housing and
Yeah.
property maintenance.
And so that already has enforcement provisions for the zoning. And so this would also have, we already have enforcement provisions in the zoning chapter as well. And so there's duplicative zoning, or exactly enforcement provisions. And so that is going to be, basically, we're removing them from the zoning and we will be having them updated in chapter 162.
Same enforcement, different part of the code.
That's correct. And what we do have though is specifically in there is penalties for violations for the zoning. But in terms of dealing with violations for certificate of occupancies, also building and demolition permits, all of that's being removed from the zoning. And that's just going to be in the chapter 162.
So there's gonna be enforcement for zoning,
That's
and
correct.
zoning's only gonna cover zoning,
That's correct.
and then everything else will be covered
Under the chapter 162.
where it should be.
That's correct.
Okay.
Sorry, it's. And then I think that's pretty much everything else. Everything else is pretty we just went through and it was just more housekeeping than anything. Those were the big changes.
Good question, guys. No, I'm okay with that. Do you feel like you have what you need to kind of draft a recommendation for us to review?
Yes, yes. I mean, I think really the biggest item was the minimum square footages.
Yeah.
I think, and truthfully, the other larger items that you've seen this year dealing with the payment in lieu of parking or some of those were more substantive zoning. This was really focused on just doing more housekeeping than anything and just making some, bringing some consistency to various issues.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay.
That's it. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to, Brenda Burbank, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? No. No objections. All right.
That's fine.
Motion carries. All right,
I
guys.
didn't jinx it.
It is.
Brenda, I Googled it, you do not need a license to
All right.
get home. Good night, everybody.
Largely,
You don't
it
need a
was
license.
only because you have
Register.
a, things have a
Okay.
quorum last
Yeah.
night, so.
Good night, Jamie. Good night, Joe.
That's why you-
I was just so, I was so curious.